And we're live on Facebook and YouTube tonight. Hello, my name is Jim Miller, and this is Unlocking Personal Leadership Live and episode number 35. And tonight is Tuesday. Tuesdays, we talk about longevity. And oh man, I have so many things I want to tell you guys about and talk about with you. But tonight, I'm excited to have the opportunity to share um, a person whom I learned about through a friend that I read her book and I've watched several of her videos, visited her website. Unfortunately don't know her personally, dare I say yet. I'd love to meet her sometime. That has discovered some rather key, I think, information and been successful at communicating that information worldwide now. And she's started a movement that I've basically embraced and have started incorporating her training into my everyday life. So I wanted to share it with you because I think it's impactful. The studies that I've seen around this subject matter that she's dealing with, which is glucose. We've talked about glucose, and you know that I have my glucose meter that I use, and I'm tracking my glucose. And I noticed when Lisa and I did our fast uh, several weeks ago now, I noticed that my glucose levels were elevated. They were high. I wanted them to be in the 70 range, 65, 70, maybe 80 on a resting or fasting um, glucose level, which is after at least an 8, ideally 12-hour fast. You take your glucose and you get the number, and that number reflects the amount of glucose in I forget the units. We'll go through that later. Doesn't matter. The units don't matter. It's just that level. It's a number, and my numbers were high. I want to be, like I said, around 70, and they were up around 100, a little higher, averaging maybe 102, 105. So that to me, at my stage, is too high, and I had to take some time to get to grips with that. I didn't want to accept that maybe I was in the pre-diabetic range. I pride myself on eating well. I pride myself on taking care of myself. And my but I and I go I've been to the doctor, I've gotten my blood tested. Everybody says everything's good. So I just been rolling along. But I still don't feel optimal. So I'm trying to figure out why. And what this curiosity is doing is helping open up the doors for me to learn more. And that's where uh, the glucose goddess, Jessie Inchauspe, she's French, and she's a French biochemist. And she's written this book. I've read the book. I listened to it actually, and I've been to her website and I've reviewed a lot of the information that she has there. It's very comprehensive. She is a data scientist. She loves data, and her story is fascinating to me because she's another one of those people who was in the system, the medical system, and it wasn't working for her. She wasn't able to really figure out what was going on, and so she started looking at other ways, alternatives, and she found incrementally, just slowly going through a process of discovery that she learned through her knowledge of data and science and how to discover things. She started experimenting and finding trends and finding that these trends resulted in ideas that she implemented in her life, and those created results that gave her improvements. And then she just kept going along these paths, and over time got better and better and better and better, and her health has improved. And she's dug in further now and learned that basically supporting another study that was done, I believe, about 8 years ago, that talks about this idea that insulin resistance, which is an epidemic. I hate to say that word anymore, but it's prevalent in our society, especially in the United States, where 1 out of 10 people is actually healthy. 9 out of 10 people, you go into a room and you look at 10 people, 9 of them will be in some form of insulin resistance, prediabetes, or even type 2 diabetes. And most of the people who are in the pre-diabetes or insulin resistance phase have no clue they're there, but their body is being subjected to this stress. And it's over time, adding age, reducing your life, reducing your ability to live a long, healthy life, and creating this dis-ease or disease. And she's uncovered this process that anybody can implement in their life to fix this problem. It takes some time, and it takes some thought and effort, but well worth it, in my view, to eliminate this issue and live a longer, stronger, healthier, joyful life. So let me introduce you to Jessie Inchauspe, and I'll bring up her website here, and we can have I can show you a little bit about what she's up to. So Jessie is, like I mentioned, an author, and she's also a French biochemist. She's written a book called Glucose Revolution, and that's what I listened to over the weekend. It's a great book. And then she has what she calls the Glucose Goddess Method. And thank you for the shout out, Christine Marie Garcia. I appreciate it. Looks like you visited, so thank you. And Jessie's on a mission to translate cutting edge science into easy tips to help people improve their physical and mental health. So her work centers around the startling discovery about the essential role of blood sugar in every aspect of our lives. Crazy, huh? And the surprising hacks to optimize it. She's come up with these hacks that you can do that help you reduce your glucose and even out your glucose spikes. The enemy here is the glucose spike. And we can talk about that here in a little bit. So Jessie is the founder of the wildly popular Instagram account @GlucoseGoddess. So if you're an Instagram person, go there, check it out, @GlucoseGoddess. And you'll see all kinds of really cool stuff where she's teaching over 2 million people about transformative food habits. And she holds a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics and then also a Master of Science in Biochemistry from Georgetown University. So that's Jessie. And her story is pretty incredible. I encourage you to take a look at that. She's at glucosegoddess.com. I can put in a little banner here, and I'll put that glucosegoddess.com, and I'll add that banner to the page here so you can see that. And recommend you go take a look at that. She broke her back at age 19, and then she struggled with mental health, and it motivated her to try to understand what was happening in her body and her brain. So she wasn't diabetic. She had no problems at all that she thought about with insulin or glucose, but she, through a system or just life, when she was working in Silicon Valley for 5 years, she came across the world of glucose, and because she was in biochemistry, and she noticed that while wearing a continuous glucose monitor, and we talked about that before here, that the more irregular her glucose levels were, the worse her mental health was. So she had that correlation. And she says this was an important clue in understanding how my body worked. And even though I don't have diabetes, glucose was impacting me. So her story talks about how she evolved and developed that idea. And it's impactful and very important, I think. For me, I dug into it. As soon as I learned that, it's like, okay, I saw my glucose levels were higher. And now I want to know exactly what she's doing and see if I can learn something. So I dug in, and I'll tell you what, it's amazing what she's been doing and what she's been able to accomplish for people all over the world. At Glucose Goddess, we share cutting edge science so you can regain power over your health. It's a safe space where everyone is welcome and every step is celebrated. So I recommend you go check that out. She has, I'll show you a bit of the science. I love science. I love getting into the details and reading these reports. You can meet Jessie. She got a little video, and you've got what doctors are saying. Learn all about how to balance your glucose levels and why it's important. And then she has different graphs that she's made, and she says she makes these graphs not to sell anything or try to convince you of anything. She just did these basically to communicate for herself when she's reading these studies what those studies look like for her. She's more of a visual person, so she created these graphs herself to help her understand what the reports, the medical reports, the detailed medical reports were telling her. So let's take a look at one of these. I'll zoom in on this graph, and so you can see here that she's got when you eat a bowl of spaghetti, you've got down here eating time, and there's 2 hours basically at the bottom. And then you've got a baseline, and this is glucose. This line here is the glucose level. So this is low, and up here is high. And the glucose is milligrams per deciliter. I was trying to tell you that earlier. These are the units, milligrams per deciliter. That's what my meter shows when I take my blood. And what she's discovered is that you want, when you eat, keep your spikes below 30 units, 30 milligrams per deciliter. If you go above that, you're creating stress in your body and damage and age. You're aging your body because your mitochondria starts producing free radicals, and those go in everything those free radicals touches. It's like getting zapped, zap, zap, and it damages them. So when you spike your glucose and you create more insulin, you're actually damaging your body. And you do that multiple times a day, especially with our standard American diet. We're damaging our bodies every day, according to her research. And I'll show you, on her site, she's got tons of information and data and reports that you can go through if you want to. But just to give you an illustration with this, when you eat pasta, which of course is basically flour and water and egg, it's a carbohydrate. It turns to sugar almost immediately when you eat it, and you can see that it spikes. It goes way up, so you get almost a 60 point 120 point spike, 100 point spike up, boom, and then it goes back down below. So it takes a while. But what you want to do, what her studies are showing, and this is really the crux of everything that she's talking about, is to what she calls clothe your carbs in fiber. So when you eat something like an arugula salad first, and that goes in your stomach, and you layer that down in your stomach, and then you throw the spaghetti on top of that, it kind of stretches out that curve. So you're not getting the boom, this instant sugar spike. So the process and philosophy of eating food in this way will give you the ability to reduce the spikes every day that you're experiencing and you're putting your body through when you eat. So you can see the results. Just eating a little arugula salad first, the spikes not as high, and duration of the sugar, it takes longer for your body to kind of go through the sugar. So it's not as impactful. It's not as abrupt and not as shocking to your body. And your mitochondria don't go into freak out and start making all these free radicals. So, great way to manage manage your body's stress and help your body live a lot longer and be successful. So, we'll go back here and kind of review the rest of the site real quick. Spikes, she says, spikes are worse. These are parts, she talks about what spikes are worse for the body than a higher but steady glucose level. So you want to maintain a steady glucose level throughout the day. That's when you get the most energy from your body. So there's all these studies that she's put in here that you can go read. And it's the variability caused by glucose spikes that's problematic. And here's studies that support that idea. And what's my glucose range should be? Well, per the American Diabetes Association, a fasting glucose level of 100 milligrams per deciliter is considered normal, but normal may not be optimal. For me, I think it's better to be lower. So I'm really focusing now my strategy to get my glucose, my fasting glucose down between 70 and 80. And so they say 85 milligrams per deciliter may be optimal. So work to stay below that. How do you do that? Well, for me, I went and invested in a little meter so I can test my blood. Otherwise, you can go to the local lab and pay $100 or $150 to get your blood work done, but don't really need to do that, I don't think. So, plus getting that feedback more frequently, easier, is better in my view. So I recommend getting a meter for yourself. So check out this site, learn about what it is that a glucose spike is. That it's, here it is. When we spike, what happens during a glucose spike? When we spike, our mitochondria become overwhelmed and start producing chemicals called free radicals, as I just mentioned. Free radicals harm our cells, mutate our DNA, and lead to oxidative stress and inflammation. Sweet spikes do this even more than starchy spikes. So when you eat a donut, it's worse than eating pasta. Inflammation is the root of most diseases. 3 out of 5 people will die of an inflammation-based disease. So 3 out of 5 people. I think based on the other studies that I've seen recently, that's low. So take that into consideration when you think about your goals for living a long and healthy life. Here's another. When we spike, our body ages. Each glucose spikes lead to glycation, which is the process of aging of our body. Glycation leads to many age-related issues from cataracts to Alzheimer's. When we slow down glycation, we live a longer, healthier life. And here's the backup to support that. So when we spike, insulin gets released and excess glucose gets stored in our liver, muscles, and fat cells. We talked about that before. This is one of the ways we gain fat in our body. They've found recently, by the way, that another study I read talks about fatty liver disease in adolescence now. I mean, when I was a kid, used to be fatty liver disease was only prevalent in people who were older or alcoholics, people who were abusing alcohol. They'd have fatty liver disease. Now it's prevalent in our society. And that's one of the indicators that says, okay, well, our diet is spiking. our glucose and our insulin. And so we're gaining fat, and we're gaining, you know, all this stress to our bodies, and it's causing disease, which is increasing our health insurance costs and everything across the board. So it all comes back to us not eating the way they're telling us to eat. It's really not our fault. We were brought up with this food pyramid, and don't get me started on that. But take a look at what you're eating. See if you feel any issues with fatigue after you eat. You get tired, going through these spikes, and you eat something, you get energy. Boom, you get a spike in energy for, I don't know, half hour maybe, and then you take a dive, or you have to eat every 90 minutes, or you think you're going to die. That's a problem. So I think getting a meter, or better yet, if you think you have a serious issue, talk to your doctor and see if you can get one of those continuous glucose monitors and see what's going on, and start using that feedback to your advantage, and understand what it is, what's going on in your body, and the cause and effect of what you eat, how you eat, when you eat, and what you're eating. So start managing that. And the role of insulin in body fat is, it's all right here. So here's all the benefits of flattening your glucose curves. There's lots of benefits there. And then there's hacks that she's created. Eating foods in the right order, have a veggie starter, stop counting calories, have a savory breakfast instead of a sweet breakfast. When I was a kid, I used to eat Rice Krispies. I'd get a bowl of Rice Krispies, and I'd put in milk, and then we had a big bowl of table sugar, sucrose, which is fructose and glucose combined, on the table, white sugar. I'd dump in like 3 tablespoons of sugar on top of the Rice Krispies, and eat the Rice Krispies, and then drink the slosh of milk and sugar at the bottom. And that was my breakfast. And then orange juice, which is mostly sugar on top of that. So that's crazy, but I wouldn't do that now. But that's what I used to do. And I think that's what's precipitated now into this idea that my body is rebelling, and fortunately responding to this new protocol that I'm introducing, which is healthier foods, eating better, eating in a way that reduces my glucose spikes, and getting this feedback from my meter. So I understand what's going on. It's so cool. It's such an empowering thing. So gosh, I just really would love for me to be able to communicate this in a way that makes sense to you. So check out this website, glucosegoddess.com, and let me know in the comments if you learn anything, if you see anything that's interesting, if you have any questions, because your questions, I'd love to help see if I can answer or help you get the answer, so I learn too, and we'll learn together. So that is my thought for the day on longevity. Is take a look at your glucose. If your glucose is spiking every day, you're damaging your cells, you're getting older, you're creating aging and stress. And my message is, stop doing that. just figure out a way to stop it, because you're gonna not live as long. So I want to have you around. Me too. So enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow. Tomorrow is audience day, building your audience day. So we'll see you then. Bye.